You ever wake up one morning and just feel off? Like something shifted, but you can't quite put your finger on it? That was me, cup of coffee in one hand, barefoot on my front porch, just trying to enjoy the sunrise. But instead of peace, I saw a brand new, shiny steel gate welded shut across the only road leading to my land. Big bold letters read, "Private property, belongs to Lakeshore HOA. No warning, no notice, just a lock, a fence, and a whole lot of audacity." But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have possibly known, is that I had seen this coming years ago. And that gate, that wasn't keeping me out. That was my bait. The trap was set, and they walked right into it. Now, before I get too deep into this, drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever dealt with a nightmare HOA? I want to hear about it. Because after this story, you might not look at that little neighborhood committee the same way again. So here's how it all started. My name's Carter Dempsey. I'm a software engineer, been one for about 15 years. And after living in apartments where the walls were paper thin and the neighbors were one loud sneeze away from joining your dinner table, I finally saved up enough to buy my dream property. 5 acres of wooded land just outside Asheville, North Carolina. Quiet, wild, untouched, with this little hill that gives you a panoramic view of the lake. The kind of place you look at and think, yeah, I could build a life here. The property sat just outside a private gated community called Lakeshore Pines. Fancy place, wrought iron gates, lawn flamingos somehow worth more than my truck, and people who wear matching sweaters with their dogs. I thought I'd found paradise. But I didn't know the HOA president had been eyeing my land like it was her personal unfinished jigsaw puzzle piece. Her name? Elaine Whitmore. Late 50s, old money. And sharp enough to slice steak with her tongue. She didn't knock on my door with cookies. She showed up the week I moved in with a clipboard and a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We'd love for you to join the community association," she said like it was a warning, not a welcome. I explained, politely, at first, that I wasn't part of Lakeshore Pines. And my deed made that crystal clear. She insisted there had been recent revisions to the community boundaries. I asked her to show me. She didn't. Instead, I started getting letters. Violation notice. Unauthorized clearing of vegetation. I hadn't touched a damn leaf. Warning, unapproved construction plans. I hadn't even laid a foundation. It wasn't about rules. It was about pressure. Elaine didn't want me there. She wanted my land. Because, get this, Lakeshore Pines had this whole plan to expand their private lake access, and my land? It was the missing link. Without it, they couldn't build the fancy dock or add the parking lot they were promising to get reelected on their HOA board. And instead of offering to buy it outright, they decided they'd make my life hell until I either sold it for cheap or walked away. But they didn't know me. See, when I was younger, I used to work security systems, high-end stuff, designing access control setups for government buildings and corporate bunkers. So when I bought this land, I already had a plan in place. I knew trouble would come, so I laid my own groundwork. First thing I did, I found the old public access route that ran along the eastern edge of the property. It had been overgrown for years, but on county records, it was still a legal right-of-way, never closed, never claimed. That would become my secret back door. Then I set up a decoy front gate, a basic access road off the community street, just like the one they thought they could control. I even let it look vulnerable. No cameras visible, a flimsy chain. Easy pickings. Meanwhile, I wired it with motion sensors, microphones, hidden trail cams tucked into trees, the works. Now, while I started preparing to build, Elaine escalated. She sent her legal team, which turned out to be her husband, a semi-retired tax attorney named Barry, over to threaten me with lawsuits if I didn't comply with community standards. I smiled, nodded, and offered them coffee. They declined. Then they started sending private security. One afternoon, I caught 2 uniformed guys walking the edge of my land, pretending to take environmental readings. I asked who hired them. They told me they were contracted by the Neighborhood Safety Committee. I told them to leave. One tried to argue. That's when I showed him the sign that said, "Surveillance in progress. All footage submitted to local law enforcement." His tone changed real quick. But the big move came when I returned home one day and found the gate fully replaced. Heavy metal, lock welded. My road, my own damn land, sealed off with a sign that said private access, HOA members only. I didn't yell. I didn't even call them. I called the sheriff, filed a trespassing complaint, and then I sat down at my desk, and started uploading footage. The cameras had caught it all. Elaine, in her khaki pantsuit, giving orders to the security team. Barry reading off a document he printed himself that claimed my access road crossed HOA-controlled grounds. And one of the guards actually saying, "Just bolt it and let him try to sue." You know what I did next? Nothing. I let them sit with it. Let them think they'd won. Meanwhile, I started bringing in building materials through the hidden Eastern Trail. No one saw us. My crew was small, quiet, careful, and we worked nights. Within 2 weeks, I had the foundation poured, plumbing in place, and a frame going up. Elaine had no clue, until the day she came by to gloat. She pulled up in her white Lexus, wearing sunglasses that probably cost more than my porch, and stepped out like she was royalty surveying the peasants. "Mr. Dempsey," she said, hands clasped. Voice like syrup with poison in it. "It appears you've been locked out. But don't worry, we're prepared to make an offer. A generous one, considering your situation." I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Oh, I'm not locked out." Her brow twitched. "Excuse me." I pointed behind me. "Been working on-site for 2 weeks. You just blocked the Decoy gate. You didn't even check the boundary records, did you?" Elaine turned pale. I handed her a laminated copy of the county survey. "That road you claimed? Not part of your HOA. Never was. This one back here? Legal public right-of-way." She tried to snatch it from my hand. I held it up. "Oh, and one more thing. Everything you've done? On camera. Security footage. Audio. Witnesses. And it's already with my lawyer." That was the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. She backed away without a word. A week later, we filed a lawsuit: trespassing, harassment, property damage, false claims of ownership, and attempted coercion. Turns out, Jennifer Lee, the HOA secretary, had been quietly collecting her own set of receipts. She turned whistleblower and handed over internal memos showing the board's intent to acquire Dempsey parcel by pressure or proxy. Her words. "Oh, and the best part? Elaine's son, Malcolm, big-time architect out in Denver, saw the local news coverage and flew in the next day. He met me at the county office, shook my hand, and said, 'She used to be a good woman. Before that HOA gave her something to control.' When the case went to court, their defense crumbled like stale crackers. With Jennifer's testimony, the footage, and the records I had, the judge not only ruled in my favor, he ordered the HOA to pay for full restitution, punitive damages, and legal fees. Elaine was removed from the board. Barry lost his bar license, and Lakeshore Pines had to issue a formal apology printed in 3 local newspapers. Me? I finished building my house, got the porch swing hung, built a fire pit for cool nights. Sometimes I sit out there, sipping bourbon, watching the sunset hit the lake just right. I think about how that gate, meant to shut me out, ended up opening a whole lot of truths that people tried hard to bury. You know, I didn't want to fight. I just wanted a place to build something real. But sometimes, the only way to keep what's yours is to be ready to lose it all just to prove you never had to give it up in the first place. So now I gotta ask, what would you have done in my shoes? Drop a comment. Tell me where you stand on HOA power, property rights, and what justice looks like when the little guy finally wins. 'Cause this might have been my land. But it's a story a lot of people are still living, and they might need to hear that it's possible to push back and win.